Good morning, everyone. Josée here. As promised, I'm reading the next part of the Miracle Morning by Elrod. Elrod. Um, and just wanted to let you know this is chapter 2, and it's a long chapter, so I'm going to probably read half of it today and half of it tomorrow. So the next chapter is called The Miracle Morning Origin, Born Out of Desperation. There starts off with two quotes. Desperation is the raw material of drastic change. Only those who can leave behind everything they have ever believed in can hope to escape. This is William S. Burroughs. The next one is to make profound change in your life, you need either inspiration or desperation. Anthony Robbins. I've been fortunate to hit what you might call rock bottom twice in my relatively short life. I say fortunate because it was the growth I experienced and the lessons I learned during the most challenging times in my life that have enabled me to become the person I've needed to be, to create the life that I've always wanted. I am grateful to use not only my successes, but also my failures to help others in a way that can empower them to overcome their own limitations and achieve more than they ever thought possible. My first rock bottom, dead at the scene. As you know, my first rock bottom was almost my last when, at the age of 20, I was hit head on by a drunk driver and died at the scene of the accident. I wrote in details about how I bounced back from my seemingly insurmountable adversity, as well as the 8 lessons I learned that will immediately improve the quality of your life in my first book, Taking Time taking life head on, how to love the life you have while you create the life of your dreams. My second rock bottom, deep in debt and deeply depressed. My second plunge into the depth of despair was more difficult than dying in a car accident was. It was 2008. The United States economy was in the midst of the worst recession since the infamous Great Depression of 1930s. In the years after surviving my car accident, despite bouncing back to build a Hall of Fame sales career, launch a six-figure success coaching business, and write a best-selling book, I was again challenged. This time, it was a complete mental, emotional, and financial breakthrough, or breakdown, I should say. Seemingly overnight, the successful enterprises I had built were no longer profitable. Over half of my monthly income disappeared. I was suddenly unable to pay my bills. I had just bought my first home. I was engaged to be married, and we were planning our first child. Buried in debt, uh, behind on my mortgage, for the first time in my life, I became severely depressed. I was at the lowest point in my life. Could things have been worse? Probably. But was this the worst they had ever been for me? Absolutely. I had hit rock bottom. Why debt was worse than death? If you were to ask me which was more difficult, my car accident or my financial struggles, I would hesitate to tell you. I wouldn't hesitate to tell you in it was the later by far. Most people would assume that being hit head on by a drunk driver, breaking 11 bones, suffering permanent brain damage, dying for 6 minutes, and waking from a coma to face the news that you may never walk again would be hard to top. It's a fair assumption that the physical, mental, and emotional pain from such a horrific wreck would be the lowest point in any person's life. However, this wasn't the case for me. You see, after my car accident, I had people taking care of me. In the hospital, my family never left my side. I was constantly surrounded by visitors, friends, family coming by daily to check on me and shower me with love and support. I had an incredible staff of doctors and nurses overseeing every step of my care and recovery. My food was prepared and delivered to me. I didn't even have the everyday stresses of having to work and pay the bills. Life in the hospital was easy. That wasn't the case in the second time around. Nobody felt sorry for me. I didn't have any visitors. There was no one there to oversee my care and recovery. Nobody brought me any food. I was on my own this time. People had their own problems to deal with. A domino effect led to struggles in every area of my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. You name it, I was a mess. I had so much fear and uncertainty that the only comfort I found each day was my own bed. As pathetic as it may sound, what got me through each day was the peace of mind from knowing I could eventually crawl into bed and temporarily escape the problems. Thoughts of suicide circled in my mind daily, although I don't know that I would have ever followed through with it. Just knowing how much taking my own life would have devastated my mom and dad was enough for me to suck it up and move forward. Deep down, I knew that no matter how bad life gets, there is always a way to turn it around. But the thoughts were still there. I just didn't see a solution to my financial crisis. I couldn't think of anything else that would put an end to my emotional pain. The morning that turned my life around. Then, in a single morning, everything changed. I woke up feeling depressed as I had been for weeks. But this morning, I did something different. I took a friend's advice and went for a run to clear my head. Now, make no mistake, I'm not a runner. In fact, running for the sake of running was one of the only things I could honestly say that I despised. However, my good friend, John Berghoff, told me that whenever he was feeling stressed or overwhelmed, going for a run enabled him to think more clearly, lifted his spirits, and helped him come out with a solution to his problem. I told John, I hate running. Without hesitation, he responded, "What do you hate worse, running or your current life situation?" I was desperate. I had nothing to lose. I decided to go for a run. That morning, I laced up my Nike Air Jordan basketball shoes. I told you I wasn't a runner. Grabbed my iPod, and so I could listen to something positive, and headed out the front door of my soon-to-be bank-owned home. I had no idea that on that run, I would have one of the most powerful, profound, life-changing breakthroughs, which would immediately begin to change the course of my entire life. Listening to the personal development audio by Jim Rohn. Love Jim Rohn. He said something that, although I had heard before, I never really got it. You know how something you hear something over and over again without actually implementing it, but then one day it finally clicks for you. It just takes you it just takes you being in the right state of mind to really get it. Well, that morning I was in the right state of mind, a state of depression and a state of desperation, and I got it. When I heard Jim proclaim with certainty, your level of success will rarely exceed the level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. I stopped in my tracks. This one philosophy was going to change my life, my entire life. I'm going to read this part again. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. The success parallel. All of a sudden, it hit me. It was like a tidal wave of reality that came crashing down, and I became present at the fact that I had not been developing myself into the person I needed to be to attract, create, and sustain the level of success that I wanted. On a scale of 1 to 10, I wanted a level 10 success, but my level of personal development was at about a 2, maybe a 3 or 4 on a good day. I realize this is the problem for all of us. We all want a level 10 success in every area of our life: health, happiness, finances, relationships, career, spirituality, you name it. But if our level of personal development, knowledge, experience, mindset, belief, etc., in any given area are not at the level 10, then life is always going to be a struggle. Our outer world still always be a reflection will always be a reflection of our inner world. Our level of success is always going to parallel our level of personal development until we dedicate time each day to developing ourselves into the person we need to be to create the life we want. Success is always going to be a struggle to attain. I ran straight home. I was ready to change my life. We're going to stop there. Tomorrow we'll start with our first challenge, finding time. So, again, I don't want to scare anyone. It's not about going for a run. There's a lot more to this book. And I encourage everyone to show up or listen to this personal, this part of the reading. And we'll see you again tomorrow. If you just found us today, then you can go back and look at the other two previous readings that will give you an introduction to what we're talking about. And so this is The Morning Miracle by Hal Elrod and read by me, Josée. So thank you and have a great day, everyone. God bless.